Okay, you're all set.
All right, good. Okay, and I would like to hopefully get this put to bed today. Okay, we based on the notes from the last meeting that Josh sent out, let's go over the changes that we had from the previous meeting. First, the paragraph that we had under the tree board. In the second paragraph, it said the issue was the word arborist, if you remember. It listed the 7 members. One would be, number 4 was an arborist, and that we decided to change. And as Josh had in his notes, the second paragraph detailing the board made up of, replace the word quote unquote arborist to an arborist, a landscape architect, or an individual with comparable experience in training. Is that fine now, or we did agree upon that, I believe?
I think that we should add the word certified arborist, because anyone who picks up a chainsaw and cuts a tree can call themselves an arborist. A certified arborist has to go through some hoops and channels to become a real arborist.
Okay, so you want there, it said a certified arborist, a landscape architect, or an individual with comparable experience and training. Okay. Okay.
Let me ask you a question of if you do not have those, right? Because I have seen these things in the last several years trying to get people to serve on certain boards. And I don't see people, for example, we don't have a functioning Board of Appeals right now because people are not volunteering. And I'm finding out that most people that have the requisite qualifications and expertise and training don't very often want to volunteer because they get paid to do their job. So I think a certified arborist sounds good, but I think you might want to have a qualified arborist, because anybody that has any good, and to your point, Bill, I don't think somebody having a chainsaw qualifies as an arborist.
It's not.
If you don't have those people available, then what do you do?
Well, we have the last part of that sentence, Sue, says an individual with comparable experience and training. Doesn't that cover what you're worried about?
There we go.
Okay,
Okay.
that'll
All
do
right,
it.
so we will add certified.
Okay, yeah, that's fine.
Okay. Then we go down to the tree board responsibilities or activities. On the first one, we changed to develop and maintain a tree inventory for the town's street trees.
Sorry, Ray, you have the ability to share this so that we're all kind of looking at the screen. You mind?
I don't know how to do that. I'm looking at, I printed a copy.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I just,
No problem.
I need a,
As the host, maybe Josh, you can share this screen, share the document that Ray is reciting.
can you do that, Josh? I'm simply doing your notes. I'm looking at your notes.
Oh, yeah, I can absolutely get that on there. Give me just a moment.
Okay. that's
Oh,
great.
good. Oh, good.
Great. I could go grab a 15-year-old off the street and he would be able to do it for me. All right, and as I think I said in my email, or we said last time, I forget, I'd like to vote on each one so that when we, at the end of this process, we have a final document, which I'll send to Michael, that we've agreed upon.
I would vote to approve number 1.
Well,
Are we there yet?
well, no, we're not quite, Azu wants to look at it. The first one, okay, can you all see that now? The first one says, we've changed, I originally had develop and maintain a tree inventory process and implementation process, which was unwordy. But this one says develop and maintain a tree inventory of the town's street trees.
Sounds good.
Is there any, is there any buddy that is against that number one? Okay. Number two, it's been changed somewhat to encourage the long-term health of Bridgewater's, I should say Bridgewater's public trees by establishing the policies for tree maintenance and planting. We originally said appropriate tree species, but we took that out. Any disagreement here?
Agree?
The only thing is about, just as Shelley had just indicated before this thing was put up. And you mentioned that you want to at least get them in as we go. Do you want to do it line item by line item, or each under number the board activities changes? You want to be voting on them as you go along or not?
You can't.
I'm not sure. Is it, speaking to Shirley or me?
To you, Shirley had said that she moved to approve. So I'm asking, are you do you want to entertain voting to approve each one individually? That's
Right.
all.
Yeah, that's
Just
all.
for
Yeah.
That's for my clarification.
We've already approved number one.
Okay.
Number two, we're on right now, encourage the long-term health of Bridgewater's public trees by establishing the policies for tree maintenance and planting.
I vote to approve.
Okay, all right, let's do it formally. Is there a second?
I would second that.
Okay, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Ready against?
Aren't you supposed to do a roll call since it's a Zoom meeting? No?
Oh, come on, Azu. Maybe at some point, I'll learn how to delete you, maybe. All right, let's, number 3 and 5 are the ones that we're going to spend some time on. So let's jump, can we just jump to the other ones and then come back to 3 and 5? So for instance, number 4, it says work with town officials and boards in matters that relate to the care, management, and removal of hazardous public trees in town. There was no changes recommended at the last meeting to number 4. So do we, can anybody make a motion to approve the number 4 that originally we had in the responsibilities?
I'll move to approve it.
Is there a second?
I would second that.
Any discussion? Okay,
I
everybody.
would like to ask if we look down at number 9, advise various boards that presently have regulations regarding trees. That's first of all, probably needs to be reworded, but secondly, does it not address the things that are in number 4? Maybe those two should be combined.
I'm not sure. What do you, it seems to me, well, it does, number 9 specifically refers to regulations.
Yeah, I know, I was going to ask to consider a change in the wording of number 9. Let me give you that proposal and maybe that will help to answer the question of the difference between 4 and 9. Number 9, my suggestion would be coordinate existing tree regulations among other town boards to ensure continuity.
One more time, Shirley.
All right, coordinate existing tree regulations among other town boards to ensure continuity.
Okay, okay.
Continuity or consistency?
Either,
Well, consistency would be, I think it would be more appropriate.
Coordinate existing tree
regulations
regulations
among
among
other
other.
town boards
Yeah,
to ensure, Azu is suggesting consistency.
I like that. And you're suggesting that. Well, actually, what if you put it that way, Shirley, doesn't that mean that it should be separate from 4?
Yes, it does.
Okay,
Yes.
all right, then. I think, what do the rest of you think? It seems to me Shirley's suggestion is good.
Yes,
I would just go back to number 4 and say that I would vote to approve it as it reads.
Okay. We have, number 4, the motion's been made to approve number 4 as is. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Any discussion? Okay, all in favor of number 4 as is, say aye.
aye.
Anybody against? Okay, since you brought it up, Shirley, let's take 9 right now.
All right.
I believe you said coordinate existing tree regulations among the various town boards to ensure consistency.
Yep.
Is that clear to everybody?
Yeah.
Yes.
Is there a motion to approve the wording for number 9?
I would move, so moved.
Is there a second?
Second,
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any against? Okay, so number 9 is approved. Now let's go to 6. It's been changed slightly to say design educational programs for the public to include appropriate procurement, buying, and maintenance of trees on private property and their value of carbon sequestration. I'm not sure. The wording seems a little bit awkward to me.
can I suggest number 1 that we say programs for the public to include appropriate procurement, and instead of buying, purchase. So substitute the word purchase for buying. And then, and maintain and maintenance of trees on private property and their value toward, instead of carbon sequestration.
I was wondering if the carbon sequestration is very specific and they provide many more benefits than just that I think we are, flood mitigation and heat island mitigation and, so I wonder if it's just their value in mitigating the impacts of climate change or their environmental value, just something kind of basic, because I don't think the only reason we want to protect trees is for carbon sequestration. That's one reason.
I would actually tend to agree with that because of there's numerous functions of those
Yeah.
trees. So I will definitely say the idea is good, and I will probably just say design educational programs for the public to include appropriate procurement and maintenance of trees, because procurement implies buying or purchasing. So when you're procuring, you're buying, you're acquiring. So the
Good.
component is redundant.
I agree.
So to include appropriate procurement and maintenance of trees on private property and their inherent values.
Yeah.
Good.
Inherent values,
Yep.
okay,
That sounds good to me.
yeah, it does sound good. That's because we are a good group of people.
Do we want to add the word protect? We had procurement and maintenance. Do we want to add the word protection? Or does that sound?
Were you saying design educational programs for the public to include appropriate procurement, protection and maintenance? Is
Yeah.
that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah. Procurement, protection and maintenance of trees.
Trees.
of trees on private property and their inherent
Inherent values. Yeah.
values.
Yes.
Yeah. the value, by pluralizing the word value,
Okay, so we have
it
the.
embraces all the other functions that
Yes.
Nicole
Okay.
mentioned.
Let me read it back then. Design educational programs for the public to include appropriate procurement, protection, maintenance of trees on private property and their inherent values.
Period. Yeah.
Good, 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 good.
Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anybody against? Okay, great. Number 7, work to promote Arbor Day and to establish Bridgewater as a tree city was, there was no changes recommended for that. If there is no changes recommended now, is there motion to approve number 7 as written?
Approve, motion to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anybody against? Number 8 also. We we put down that there be no changes. It reads, consider the creation of a I'm not sure, a tree farm. We had a word before. What do any of you have that? Wait a minute. We have considered the creation of a protected the Josh's notes are, the word is unreadable here.
I have here, consider the creation of a tree farm.
Period.
Is that what you're looking at on
Yeah.
number 8?
Yeah.
I kind of like the word nursery rather than tree farm.
Okay.
Mhm.
Consider the creation of a nursery. Period.
Yep,
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, very good. Is there a motion to approve number 9? Excuse me,
Actually,
number 8.
Ray, I think I can tell what that word was supposed to be on the
Yeah.
original notes. Was it creation and operation of
Oh.
a tree farm?
I don't
Of a
think
tree
so.
nursery, something like that? Because we could create it, but we were talking about somebody actually has to manage it.
good point.
Or, so I thought
Yeah,
maybe
yeah,
that word's
manage
supposed
it.
to be operation. PRO or something.
It
Some,
seems,
we could, yeah.
whatever you think, I mean, I think the creation implies operation too, but
Okay.
whatever you want.
But so just to a comment. So if these 3 board were to create a nursery, does it have the real estate for doing that? And how does it fund itself?
Azu, I think, somebody correct me if I'm wrong, in our discussions over this in the past, what you're bringing up are issues. And the thing is that what the word consider, it simply means that you will look into it and then you may have to come up with what you're referring to is how it's going to actually operate. It's not saying create, it's considered to create. That
And more directly,
I think that when you are doing something, you want it to have some value, right? If you're just gonna consider, okay, so if you consider it and then you come up with an answer, then what do you do with that answer?
we have to come up with regulations then. How are you going to do it? If we get specific in this particular line, it's going to be fairly complicated, don't you think?
I think so.
Well, and I agree with that. But once you have, if this is supposed to serve as an operating document for the tree board. Right, right. So if you consider it, what is the end result of that consideration?
if I may, one of the concerns we had was what you're saying, Azu, and we checked around. There are several town properties and including some private property farms that might be willing to provide the space for a tree nursery. So it's not impossible to think that there exists currently the appropriate land for that. We've checked with Carlton Hunt, who went onto the town maps and found out that there is several properties that the town owns already that would serve as a nursery.
That could serve as the nursery, but may not necessarily be available for that, right? So for example, we have a town-owned property on Pleasant Street that we're not considering for a potential fire station, right? So, well, if you want to do that, then you should say consider in consultation with whoever, right? So that you set up a motion or mechanism for doing. I just think about the phrase or the sentence as it reads right now doesn't carry much import other than, okay, I considered it. So what? That's all.
Well, how about consider and, well, from my perspective, I think consider would allow you, if you consider that a nursery is appropriate, then you make a recommendation to the town manager, that the town manager go forward to the council with a plan to set up a nursery. No?
Well, then if say you want to change that word, evaluate, right? Because to evaluate something
Okay,
has the intrinsic implied understanding that after you evaluate, you prepare a report, or so to speak, right? But if I'm considering something, I just considered it, you know. My daughter wants me to buy her a car. I considered it, right? But I didn't do anything with that consideration.
okay.
So you want to use words that actually carry a little bit more import.
How about evaluate?
Yeah.
and,
The possible creation,
Evaluate the possible creation of a tree board, Shirley?
that's what I was suggesting.
No, nursery. Bill said
Nurse-
so.
Nursery, yeah.
Evaluate the development of a nursery.
Okay. Evaluate the development of a nursery. Sounds good. Is there a motion to approve that?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second,
Is there any discussion? The issue, what we're talking about, number 8, we evaluate the creation of a nursery. All in favor?
aye.
Anybody against? Okay. Let's see. Number 10, no changes, reads, develop a process for the valuation of trees, both forested and on public ways.
Could you read that one more time? I'm sorry.
Sounds good.
Yep, develop a process for the valuation of trees, both forested and on public ways.
I think that rather than use the word develop, perhaps you could use the word adopt, because there are many processes to evaluate the value of trees, both public and private, rather than inventing one. Develop kind of says that we're going to start from scratch and
Okay,
Is that
Oh.
the same data that would be part of the tree inventory?
not necessarily.
Okay.
okay, again, so Bill, you're saying adopt a process for the valuation of trees, both forested and on public ways, correct?
Yes, yes.
Anybody have an issue with that? Okay, is there a motion to approve number 10?
So
So
moved.
moved. Second,
Second, okay, motion made and seconded, is there any discussion? All in favor?
aye.
Anybody against? Okay, Um, we did, let's see. We did 7, 8, did we skip, did we, I know we skipped 3 and 5. Anybody, anything did I skip anything? No. Okay, I think the rest there, we were going back to 3 and 5 then. And that was, first of all, Zoo, this is your baby in a sense. You first of all, you felt that we should combine 3 and 5 into one. And you also, in your email today, you had a lengthy email on this. And whatever we decide on, I think we want it 1 or 2 lines if we can do it this way. Azu, why don't you just go back what you think is important here?
Well, Josh, I don't have any notes. Since we've done all the other numbered items, can we just Josh pull up what we have right now on 3 and 5 then, please, if that's possible.
Josh,
There's the preservation of trees and
it's the old proposal for a Bridgewater tree board that I had sent out.
Yep, just pulling it up. Is it the one with Shirley's red edits?
It says work with town officials.
Number,
tree warden, highway department, mitigation monies.
right.
Yep.
Number 3 starts out by manage any mitigation. Number 5 starts out with work with town officials.
Okay, yep, found it.
Okay, yeah, exactly. Number 3. Yeah, the number 3 that I have, the word work is not there. It says manage any. It's not quite, this is not quite the exact one. Number 5 is exactly what I have. Number 3, I have a little bit different. It's been modified. It says manage any mitigation funds that are set aside for the planting and care of trees. Expenditure of funds can include the purchase of equipment for the maintenance of trees.
I had added to mitigation funds, I added and grants. Now, I don't know if grants would be considered mitigation funds or not, but
Well,
I
that's, I'm sorry. Yeah, go ahead.
I assume that mitigation meant whatever might be coming from other sources, such as developers and maybe donations.
Right, I think that was Azu's point about combining mitigation and grants into one sentence.
Okay,
Correct, Azu?
That's pretty much it.
Yeah, what I did was to, I just did it just now. I combined the 2, which would read members of the board. Oh, I'm sorry. Work with town officials to manage mitigation funds and grants that are set aside for the planting and care of trees. Expenditures of funds can include the purchase of equipment for the maintenance of trees.
mhm.
Yeah, I think that sounds pretty good, Ray. I just don't think if you recall, I think Bill and Nicole were present at the last meeting. I don't think so.
That's right.
Just for the benefit, the comment that I had then, Nicole and Bill, basically relates to the fact that, for example, the planning board had, as a segue to numbers 3 and 5, is that the planning board, for example, requires that a developer hire a licensed landscape architect to prepare a landscaping plan as part of their project application. And the comment that I had then that, and the planning board also as an approving authority gets the funds, if you will, or mandates how much money, in consultation, obviously, with the developer, how much money that they will collect, okay? The town has different fund line items, right? Where monies go to. So until this tree board is actually established and the council approves an accounting line for that, the planning board still has that authority to regulate, monitor projects that are come under its purview. Same as conservation, as a board of appeals, when they impose certain conditions. So I think until the tree board becomes really functioning or functional, that the consultation with the other town departments, for example, the finance department, that actually monitors all the expenses, the revenues coming in, and all the money's going out. That phrase in consultation with those, it's very important. It's important that we have that way. Now, I think, Ray, what you have captures what we discussed last meeting.
Okay,
I-
so wait a minute, just let me clarify something here. What you just said is right now, this ad hoc tree board has no power to do anything.
Correct. But
Zero.
you're talking about the tree board that you're,
Right, once it is set up, then
yeah,
it would have power to work with the other boards, et cetera, but
right. That's what I said. That we
Right,
put
right.
together.
I just want to clarify that, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So what we have is, again, work with town officials. You want to add and boards there? Work with town officials and boards to manage
Right.
mitigation funds and grants that are set aside for the planting and care of trees. Expenditure of funds can include the purchase of equipment for the maintenance of trees.
Sounds good.
Shirley, you had something?
No, that's fine.
Okay, so we're adding boards, work with town officials and boards. And that means that we are combining both 3 and 5.
Mhm.
Is there a motion?
So
The-
then,
My only hesitancy is that the grant work does seem, even though they might be very similar, I still sort of like them separated just because there may be more that, we may be, I don't know, because we can use the word acquire grants rather than just manage the grant money. We could coordinate with other departments or officials to actually, seek out grants and things.
right, but I think about that, that, I think what that Ray just read captures that, Nicole.
Now Nicole just got me questioning myself.
Because we also were even talking about, like, at one point that there could be potentially be a mechanism for the public to, make donations or, to purchase, to grant a tree in somebody's honor and things of that nature. So,
Mhm.
I mean, that might be different than grants as well. So I suppose,
Can we add a couple words, Nicole, to in front of grants to encompass what you're saying? Work
Yeah.
with town officials and boards to manage mitigation funds. And
Seek out grants.
what?
Seek out grants.
yeah, something like that.
Mhm.
Seek out grants that are set aside. Work with town officials and boards to manage mitigation funds and seek out grants that are set aside for the planting and care of trees. Oh, it works. Is it a little awkward? I don't know.
It's a little convoluted.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It's a little bit
I agree.
convoluted.
It's a little jumbly.
well, I think, Nicole, what you're, if I understood you correctly, what your main point is that what this way it reads right now, it simply says that we will work with grants that have already been
Right.
acquired. What you
Yeah.
want is something that we can go out and try to acquire grants, right?
Because the mitigation funds seem like very specific to the planning board negotiations, and then all of a sudden there will be these funds for the planting, but with the grants, I felt that there may be more facilitation, coordination, and then, of course, the management of those funds.
How about this? This. Acquire, comma, manage, and coordinate with other town boards and officials, funding for mitigations and planting and care of trees.
I don't think we need the word mitigation in there.
Yeah, I don't think you need mitigation.
I think
I think perhaps we should go back to having two lines here, one for mitigation, management, and the second for
Acquiring grants, seeking out grants.
Grants,
Yeah.
yes.
I agree.
Grants, donations, just to, even if they are somewhat similar, they might give us a little more leverage with the grant.
Yeah.
And a little more
Okay.
direction on the grants and donations and things.
I think that's true. But
Okay.
why don't we, let me a suggestion, let's go back to, let's say 3 would be, try this, work with town officials and boards to manage mitigation funds for the planting and care of trees. Expenditures of funds can include the purchase of equipment for the maintenance of trees. Period. That's number 3.
I agree with that.
Yes, I agree.
Okay, number 5 then would be, Nicole, how would you want to read it? What would you want to say?
Work with town officials and boards to,
To pursue grant.
pursue grant opportunities and, I suppose it could even be donations or donations to purchase and maintain public trees in the town.
or could we say other funds?
Yes, that's fine. Yep.
Okay, read it. Tell me again.
Work with town officials and boards.
Work with town officials
And boards.
and boards
Yeah,
to
Pursue
pursue grant and other funding opportunities to purchase and maintain public trees.
work with town officials and boards to pursue grant and other funding opportunities. To what?
I suppose it could
Purchase and
still be
maintain.
yeah, I was wondering if it's just the same ending as the other one.
The other one,
planting and
yes,
care of
yes,
trees.
yes.
Yes,
Yes, it'll be,
for the planting and
Yes.
care of trees.
yeah.
And then we could also again say the expenditure could include the equipment. Because you
Right,
can get grants for, equipment and, I mean, it could be very open.
right.
Or the purchasing
Similar
of-
ending would be good.
Okay, again, work with town officials and boards to pursue grant and other funding opportunities
Mhm.
for the planting and care of trees.
Yes,
And then we're adding, this can include purchase of equipment, right?
mhm.
Yeah,
Same thing as number 3.
Mhm.
yes.
Sounds good to me.
If it says the planting and the care of trees, do you have to have purchase in there as well or no? That's kind of just assumed.
I think
We
we
didn't have it in 3, but for the yeah, we probably should have purchase either in
Mhm.
both or in,
I guess if you're planting them, we had to purchase them, but I don't know if we need to say that.
Well, you want to be that explicit, actually, It should be explicit.
yeah, so we should say
Yeah.
purchase.
Okay, so you want to add planting, you want to add purchase in front of planting? For the purchase, planting and care?
Yeah,
Yes,
For 3 and
Yes.
5? Right?
Should be both.
Yeah.
yep.
All right. So number 5 would read, work with town officials and boards to purchase, no, to
Pursue.
you.
pursue, I can't read my writing, sorry. To
I was
pursue,
gonna say that, I was gonna say that, Ray, but I didn't.
hey, listen, I made it through college, but I will tell you that when I took a final exam one day at the University of Michigan, the professor called me up the next day and he said, either you come in and read this exam for me or I'm going to flunk you on it because I can't. All right, work with town boards, town officials and boards to pursue the purchase. Wait a minute.
To pursue grant and
Grants,
other funding opportunities.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. Pursue grants and other funding opportunities for the purchase, planting, and care of trees. And this
Yes.
expenditures of funds can include the purchase of equipment for the maintenance of trees.
Mhm.
Right? All right. Is there a motion to approve the wording for what will now be number 5 again?
so moved.
Motion
Second.
made, motion made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
I,
Anybody against? Okay, we have to look at 3 now and add the word to purchase in front of planting. Modify that. That, you all agree?
Agree.
So let's have another motion then. We're adding, number 3 will now read, work with town officials and boards to manage mitigation funds that, mitigation funds for the purchase, planting, and care of trees. Expenditures of funds can include the purchase of equipment and maintenance of trees. Okay,
Mhm.
I like it.
is there a motion?
Yeah, move to adopt number 3.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anybody against? Okay,
I got to jump over to my other meeting. Did we approve them all?
thank you very much,
Well,
Nicole.
Nicole is now jumping to a paid meeting.
Yeah, seriously. Yeah,
Yeah,
Yep.
but this gives you the
this
paid
this just
meeting.
pays my heart. Yeah.
That's right. This-
All right.
This makes.
All right, bye, Nicole.
Thank you.
Thank you, Nicole.
Bye-bye, Nicole.
All right, that should conclude.
Well, I'm
I
wondering,
think- I think that the issue though is, we need to look at the final draft that you all agree to it.
So
Uh,
if you,
Go ahead, Shirley.
I was going to suggest that we ask Josh if he can print up the final draft and send it to each of us, and that each of us respond A or nay, or any other suggestions we have for word changes, so that we have a final copy without everyone agreeing to it. In other words, everybody who is going to be on this, who is on this committee, should sign off on these activities.
I was just thinking about that. I mean, and Josh, maybe you could help us on this. I'm not sure. I think Shirley's suggestion is correct. I mean, we have to look at the final draft. But do we need another meeting to do this?
If you want
you've already
want to vote
voted
it.
on the changes.
Right,
All you need to do is verify that the final document reflect those changes. So there really is no other need.
right.
I will start doing another meeting to edit and.
Right, no, I'm sorry, you're absolutely right, Azul.
So all you're doing is verifying textual changes
Right.
that have been recommended. That's it.
Yeah, exactly. But my point is, what if for some reason or other, the wording isn't quite what one person felt it should be, then what?
Well, if the wording is not reflective, let's say we can get the final draft and the wording is not consistent with what we discussed, then somebody should say, well, this is the word that I think we used. And then everybody else will chime in and say, yeah, I agree or don't agree.
Well, we don't want to do that without having a meeting. We don't want to do that with emails.
Okay, so why don't we then, to Shelley's point, Josh, you can send it out. And then everybody can circulate the edits, and Josh will just have us have one meeting for voting on the final draft, not to vote on the line items again.
Right, that's what I was referring to. It sounds like and you, Josh, know better than I do. We, as you said, we have voted on these and we've agreed on everything. If there is a disagreement about a word or two, then we need to have another actual meeting. We can't agree to change a word online, correct?
Right. Yeah, we would be able to discuss that through
All right,
emails.
why don't we do this? Josh will do the final draft. He'll send it out. Any of you feel the wording should be changed? I mean, because that we made the mistake on the word or words, email me. And if necessary, I'll set up another meeting for next week to simply spend 10 minutes to finalize it. Okay?
That's fine.
That's good.
Okay,
Motion to adjourn.
this was great. Well, Shirley?
One
Shirley.
other thing I'd like to ask, when we have the final document, I wonder if we could ask Ray to walk it over, and Ray, if you want to take anybody from the committee with you, or the whole committee if you want, walk it over to our town manager's office and to go through it with him and get the next step, so that we have a continuation of this till we get it to a final stage for approval by the town council.
I think that's a good idea. Why don't we do this then? I intended to send it, simply email it to him, but I think Shirley's point is valid. Maybe once we have the final draft, and I'll try to set up a meeting where I and whoever else wants to come, we can simply go over and have a short meeting with Michael. I think the process will be, he will simply change the administrative code to include the tree board, and it should not be a lengthy process to do it, but that's, I shouldn't even say that though, because,
Ray, can I just make a quick recommendation?
yep,
So what I would actually recommend is, if you are going to have several of the committee members joining that meeting with the manager, you are going to have a majority of the committee, and it would be considered a committee meeting, and we don't want to breach any open meeting laws. So what I would actually recommend is just scheduling a meeting like this. That way he can join, everybody can finalize, you can vote the final ordinance, and then get it through that way.
well, that's the question is whether everybody wants to. I mean, if we have, say, no more than 3 people going, it's not a quorum.
I think to Josh's point, I think a hybrid makes more sense. Listening to what we're discussing right now. So I would recommend this. Let's get the final draft from Josh. We'll review that and say, okay, this is what we agreed to. Then set up a meeting with Michael, but give him the opportunity to review the document by himself. Because I think if he's the decision maker, he will, I don't think badgering into his office and then saying that, gee, I want to discuss this with you, will be productive. I would not appreciate it if I were in his shoes. So I will suggest that we give him an opportunity to look at our final draft and then formulate some questions. And then we can have a meeting with him in this room and then say, okay, this is what we agreed. And then he can advise us as to whether he has any changes that he wants to consider.
Okay, that's fine with me. The question is, let me just clarify then, do all of you want to have a meeting with Michael? I'm just, that's fine with me. Or do you want simply two people to go in and talk to him? If you, well, we can do what the Zoo just said, if that's what you want.
Two people can go with him. I don't have a problem with it. We just don't, to Josh's point, we don't want to have a quorum going to meet with him. So I have no problem, Ray as the chair and Bill, because Bill also has that tree information and knowledge. I think if Ray and Bill, after we give him the document though, I think we should
Right, yeah,
have him review it. And then Josh can set up a meeting for Ray and Bill to meet with Michael. I have no problem with that.
Yeah, that'd be perfect.
Yeah.
I have no problem either way. So what's the feeling? Do you want the whole board? Do you want to set up an actual meeting? Or do you want just two people to go in?
I just said two people go in, so I don't see any intrinsic value in us having yet another meeting with the town manager. I think basically what you're doing is reporting to the town manager what you just did. I think the chair and Bill just show that only because then Bill will sort of be a reinforcement for Ray of the conversations we had. So I think the document, after we review it, draft, give it to the town manager to digest, and then set up, Josh sets up a meeting for Ray and Bill to meet with the town manager. And then he can provide them feedback. We don't need to have another meeting of all of us. Action with the town manager. That's why I have a committee chair.
Is that agreed upon?
I agree with that.
Bill, can you do that, you think? You're muted, Bill.
Sorry, I was muted. Yeah, sure, I'm good with that.
Okay. All right, that's fine. We will do that. That's great. Great meeting. And hopefully this is our last meeting. And I want to thank all of you for your input because usually the more voices come up with a better document. I say usually. In this case, I think it has worked out that way.
Now, did I understand we're going to get a copy of all of our changes now? We're all going to sign off on them. If there are any word changes that we don't agree with, we will have another very brief meeting next week to straighten that out. And then you and Bill will go on after you've sent it to Michael and have a meeting with him to get next steps.
Exactly.
Documented. Okay.
If, by the way, speaking of that, if we do have to have another short meeting, is next week viable for anybody? For you?
Next week is not for me. I'm out of town. I'm out of town the entire week.
Okay, I may be out a couple of days myself.
I'm good.
Let's wait and see if there's some disagreement.
All right.
Right.
Fair enough. Okay.
Amen.
Okay.
Words of wisdom. Motion to adjourn.
Is there a second?
Second.
Have a good lunch. Bye, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, Shirley. Bye.